everybody, this is the Wikstrand. So a few years before this movie was released, I started to see rumors and news about this upcoming project, Cowboys and Aliens, and they had some concept drawings and they had some rumors about who was going to star in it, who was going to direct it, and sort of what it's going to be about. And I was very excited for it. I didn't get less excited when they announced that, well, Daniel Craig is going to be in this one, Harrison Ford is going to be in this one, and Jon fucking Favreau is going to sit in the director's chair. And I thought to myself, wow, this movie is going to kick so much fucking ass. And then I saw the movie, and I would say that it took me 25 to 30 minutes before I started to realize this is about as good as it is going to get, because my enthusiasm for this slowly started to wear off like snow in spring. It melted away, and it was never a bad movie, but I went out from the cinema after seeing this movie and said, well, that certainly happened. This movie ain't gonna get any sequels, and it's going to probably not do so well at the box office. And I would say that I was partly right in that assumption. But how could they bungle up something that on paper was as cool as combining sci-fi and westerns? I think that if you want the evidences of where the fault lies, check out the opening credits to this thing, because you will see that this movie has plenty of three things actually, if you're counting them as two separate entities. They have a very large pool of incredibly famous and talented actors, but they also have an enormous amount of writers and producers, meaning that there is a lot of wills that wants to have their shit represented in the script. There's going to be a lot of wills, and that, I think, is one of the main reasons why this movie, didn't work as well as they thought they would. But what is this movie about? How do they combine the cowboys and the aliens? That's what we're gonna find out today. This is my review of Cowboys and Aliens. Craig wakes up in the desert of New Mexico and has no idea who he is or what he's doing there. Amnesia, it has to be one of the favorite writing crutches of any screenwriter, because you can very artificially create a lot of tension, a lot of mystery surrounding a person that you don't know who he is. The only thing that seems a bit out of the ordinary with him is the fact that he has a gauntlet thing around his wrist that he can't get rid of. And he just has these small, memory flashes of who he might have been at one point. And he starts to, try to figure out where to go and what to do now. He seems to be very good at disarming people, stabbing people, shooting people, and killing people. So combat seems to be his trade, or whatever it may be. So he walks into this small little town to try to figure out if anybody know who he is. And it turns out they know who he is. He's an escaped outlaw with a bounty on his head and stuff like that. So he's locked up in the jail, and where he sort of interacts a little bit with the other citizens of this small little town, including Paul Dano, who is the spoiled and uncontrollable douchebag, son of a rich ranch owner, played by Harrison Ford. We'll get to him in a second. We also have this meek and meager bartender played by Sam Rockwell. We have Adam Beach, who is this Native American guy, and we also have a mysterious woman played by Olivia Wilde that fills out the ranks. And we also have this other outlaw played by Walton Goggins, who will show up later, who will not be as cool and awesome as he is in the movie The Hateful Eight. But where is he? The thing is that just when they are about to lock up Harrison Ford and take him away to the nearest jail and stuff like that, the aliens finally decided to show up. And they are superior to the people of the 19th century with their flying ships and laser cannons and stuff like that. But it also turns out that the people of this small town may have a hero on their side, and it is of course Daniel Craig, because you know the wrist thing that he has on himself seems to be a kind of an alien weapon of some kind, and he's able to fight off the intruders, but not before the aliens have also abducted a lot of people in town. Where have they taken them? Why have they taken them there? That's what we're gonna find out, because Craig and Harrison Ford is gonna have to, you know, join forces and, you know, trust each other in order to get them back. And, you know, they also take a bunch of people from the small town who hasn't been abducted yet, and they, you know, set out to try to find and save their friends. That's what this movie is about. There is also a story, of course, about how Harrison Ford is going to try to, you know, reconnect with his son Paul Dano, who is an asshole. That's what this movie is about. Oh, and of course we have the story about the Native Americans struggling and stuff like that. That's what this movie is about. And we also have the story about the stolen gold and how this fits into the whole thing. That's what this movie is about. And we of course have the story about, you know, how the barkeeper played by Sam Rockwell is going, and try to not be such a pushover all the time. How many fucking stories are we going to tell in this movie? This is one of the reasons why I think this movie doesn't work, because we have so many side plots and side stories that are competing for our attention that none of them really, you know, gets enough time to shine. But they get so much time to shine that this movie has an absolutely bloated runtime, and there is a lot of, you know, moments in this movie where nothing actually happens. Cowboys and Aliens is actually quite boring in many stretches, and when the action sequences do show up and when the aliens do show up, it's not actually that fun, and it is not very imaginative, and it is not very impressively looking or anything like that. It's just there. And once you've seen it once, then you kind of think that I don't want to see this again. And it's not very, you know, visually interesting or anything like that. We have these long sequences where they just explore this boring ass ship, and it looks like something, you know, out of a very cheap sci-fi movie, not a, you know, super expensive movie filled with Hollywood stars and stuff like that. Speaking of all of these Hollywood stars, the acting in this movie is a little bit lukewarm. They say their lines, but apart from that, there's really nothing going on here. And you're not really interested in what's going to happen to anybody else. And we also have this thing with Daniel Craig's amnesia, who is also a competing storyline, which I totally forgot. Silly me. That, you know, also takes up a significant part of time. The abduction and the amnesia, that probably should have been the major thing, and you could have had maybe one other competing storyline, and then the movie should have been not any longer than what, maybe 105 minutes or something like that. But now we have all of these things that combined, you know, just dilute the whole thing. So is this movie bad? No, it is not bad, but it is just so formulaic, and the idea of combining gritty western with exciting, shiny sci-fi seems like a great idea in concept. But here's the problem. They got this sort of grittiness of the western, because I think the western elements of this movie was better than the sci-fi movie elements, because the sci-fi elements of this movie was very standard and was incredibly unimaginative and didn't have any creativity to it whatsoever. It was just a standard, slightly below blockbuster. It's mad considering how many fantastic actors we have in this movie and how much money they've, you know, poured into this thing. It didn't look impressive. It didn't look unique. It didn't look like, you know, something we have never seen before. And despite having, you know, people on horsebacks being chased by spaceships, that should automatically be exciting, and it should automatically be something we want to see. But the problem is that the story doesn't make a lick of sense. The characters isn't that interesting, and whenever, you know, something that seems exciting is about to happen, then they take the, you know, most secure, least inventive approach to the whole thing that you could ever hope to do. So is this movie a movie that you should see? No. There is also a couple of really frustrating moments in this movie where they, reveal that, haha, you didn't see this thing coming. And you kind of, wondering when that thing happens, why didn't you, announce this earlier? You could have, prevented so and so and so and so and so and so. But I guess we have to get this, big reveal out of the way, like a ooh thing. So, Cowboys and Aliens is a movie that should have worked, but ultimately didn't. It's neither poorly directed, or poorly acted, or badly written. It's just very, very bland, and you kind of have seen all of these things before in other movies, but in those movies they were done in a better way. And all of these cliches that they feel that they have to use for reasons that I don't know just muddles the water even more. This is a movie that you will literally see and you will probably forget what it was about 1 or 2 days later, but I've never really forgotten how disappointed I was. And despite this fantastic cast of characters, none of them seem very eager to be there, and none of the characters are very interested, or you're not that interested to see what's gonna happen to them, so yeah, it's just a bit, There is a couple of sequences in this movie where you can see what they were going for, and the idea of Cowboys and Aliens kind of shines through, and you sort of see glimpses of the movie that could have been, and the star power do help. I give Cowboys and Aliens 47 points. It is a lukewarm, standard, not very interesting blockbuster, but it shouldn't have been that. It should have been an absolutely, cultural milestone that, could have opened the floodgates to a lot of new exciting crossover things where, things could have crossed over into different genres and stuff like that. But now it didn't. And now we are stuck with this lukewarm script and these slightly phoned in performances. Especially Ford, who is in full grumpy mode in this movie. Even Daniel Craig seems to be a little bit, I'm just gonna do this for the paycheck of it all. That is the feeling that Cowboys and Aliens left me with. But what do you think about Cowboys and Aliens? How could this movie have been improved? Comment below and I'll see you next time from, well, so-and-so reviewing, well, such and such. Thank you for watching. Thank you very much.